Isis on your trip to Mexico, and
Yeah,
I've been checking out some of your Instagram pics. You know, I think you visited the museum, correct?
that's one of the places I visited. I
What?
also went to the actual pyramids. I went to
Yeah.
the whole entire pyramid complex was
Mm,
like, whoa.
mm. So listen, there's such a big movement. There's a lot of energy around in the so-called blacks in America claiming America again. I remember coming up in consciousness in the early 2000s. It was all about back to Africa, Africa this, Africa that. And isn't that, I absolutely love the continent of Africa and all the everything it provides and the rich history and everything. But I remember it was just the Moors back then talking about we were indigenous. We have all types of movement now. We have FBA, ADOS. We have the brother, what's the brother name? I forget the brother, Dan Calloway. We got so many people.
Yeah,
We got so many people talking about how the blacks are indigenous, the blacks in America right now were indigenous here and we've been here. So
that's
it's like a
correct.
huge, there's so much energy surrounding this topic that I'm like, I gotta talk to several people about this. So I want to start with let's start with Isis Wisdom. Let's start, my sister. Let's start with, we're so used to Kemetic spirituality, the Kemetic gods, Kemetic goddesses, Isis, Osiris. What about the American gods? What can you tell me about the American gods that we may have been overlooking while we were studying Osiris and Isis?
Well, one of the things I want to say to you guys is that first and foremost, there was two Egypts.
Mm,
So you had the New Egypt, which
mm,
is overseas,
mm-hmm,
but the first Egypt was actually in the Americas, and many people do not know this. And I also want to point out as well that you've heard the term. Most people think it's a theory, but I can tell you from cosmic knowledge that it's a very real thing. This planet has been recreated 7 times. And so during the time period, during those 7 times that the planet had been created, Egypt was in different places on Kai. Okay? And so with Egypt being in a different place on Kai, you can begin to start researching old world maps where they were speaking about the very first Egypt. If you guys look at the Mississippi River, the Mississippi River is actually the first Nile River that took place. And we also, if you look at Memphis, Tennessee, this isn't the Memphis overseas is not the same as the Memphis in the States, but they put a lot of information out there for us to see that's been hidden in plain sight. And if you take the time out and you start studying the old maps, that Mississippi River, AKA the Nile River, and then the various pyramid complex, small complexes, but nonetheless we have pyramids, we had mounds all throughout Utah, all throughout Tennessee, all throughout Arizona. Arizona is definitely one place I would recommend people to go check out so you guys can see the old world there. It's very prevalent there.
mm-hmm,
When you look at the actual, what appears to be mountains and they're flat at the top, those are cut down trees from the old world. Those were the old crystal trees that used to grow from the old world. So look at it from this perspective. Egypt has been moving around. So when you look at some of the older maps, you're going to start to see that the one overseas, they call it the New Egypt. So what many people also don't know is that a lot of the pharaohs that they said that they were finding actually came from the Americans, and they weren't revealing that information. Okay, just like when they found the tombs here and the mummies here and the pyramids and inside the temple, the Isis temple here in Arizona. You have an Osiris temple in Salt Lake City, and I know you heard about that 12,000-year-old mummy that is found at the bottom of the lake.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
12,000 years, 12,000 years old in the Americas. How long has these other people been here? 6,000 years, maybe 6,500 years they've been here. So if they've been here for 6,500 years, then what is this mummy that they found here that's 12,000 years old? What is that? Atlantis was also here. So you guys got to understand that during the time period when the planets were being recreated, a lot of things were also being moved around constantly. And you also have to remember that back in the day, the old maps showed the United States, the states being listed as countries at one point in time. Okay, so each state, the governor himself was actually the president of that actual particular country. So I'm talking about taking it way back, way back, way back. So we have that in our bloodline. A lot of us have ancient Egyptian in our bloodline. It's just not talked about because we've been programmed to think that that is something that is far away from us, that is something that we're not possibly a part of because of their advanced technology and things like that. We couldn't possibly associate ourselves with that type of greatness. But everywhere you look, they can't hide it. You can't hide it. It's like pyramids everywhere, hieroglyphs are written everywhere in their particular respective languages, but there are hieroglyphs like down there in Mexico City. I saw they have hieroglyphs there. Okay, but their hieroglyphs look a lot different than the ones that you see in ancient Egyptian. What you're gonna realize is that a lot of those pyramid complexes were mimicking that particular Egypt. They dedicated, I believe, the Pyramid of the Sun. They dedicated that pyramid to Tahuti, which, if you know anything about Tahuti is the heart of Ra. They dedicated that pyramid to Ra, and they dedicated that pyramid to Horus. So I'm going to talk to you about a wonderful experience I actually had, when I was there, and I actually got a response. I was touching one of the pyramids. I was touching the Pyramid of the Sun because the way they got it set up, they don't let you go up and climb at the top of the pyramids anymore. Outside.
You know what I'm saying?
What are you talking about? So I asked them, I said, what the hell is going on with that? And so I had got a download, and what I was told was that the reason why they won't let anybody climb the top of the pyramids is because a lot of the indigenous there was doing massive meditations. And the mass meditations that they were doing, like when the whole thing went down over in Australia.
The cat like me. Yeah. So good to have you back on here. Welcome back, Fleur. Welcome back. How you been? I've been
well. I'm back in the country and I'm happy. So it's been good.
Excellent. And so you plan on staying here, or you going?
Listen, I don't ever make plans because United Fakes, you never know. We're in the Matrix, and it's the last stage of the simulation, so it's on and popping. So you never know. I got 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah. What do you think about is the I hear you talking. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Let me calm my wolves. I don't have cats. I have wolves. So.
Okay. Good.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that.
Can y'all see Fleur Brun? She's it's a little frozen on my end. I don't know if that's just my computer.
Can you see me?
Can y'all see both of us?
Can you see me?
Yeah, now I do.
Okay.
I just want to make sure of the.
Okay.
Okay, so what I was gonna ask was I seen on your channel you talked about the last days of the simulation. What's your thoughts? How do you think are things going as expected with you in terms of everything you see going on around you, the politics, the people, the NPCs, the soul people, the races? Like, is everything going how you envision it, or is it a little different from what you envision it would be?
I mean, I've known that the simulation was going to end roughly around 2025, 26. So everything is as planned. Now, chronologically, things kind of shifted. Like certain things happened first. I thought it would happen later, but everything's on time. We're living in a cylindrical pattern. World War I, II, and now III is all coming as planned. Everything is staged. It is part of a loop, and some of us done this before in past lives. Some are newbies to this, but many of us are qualified to be here, especially if you're not an NPC.
Indeed. So what's your thoughts? I'm curious, when you see Kamala go up against Trump, some people feel as though Kamala is a representation of divine feminine energy. People feel as though Trump is there to destroy the country and end the corporate greed. What's your thoughts on what you see politically in those two characters in the game that we see playing out?
Well, during the finale of this game, the simulation, this cylindrical pattern that happens, duality ends. So in order for duality to end, the polarities have to kind of hit at like this. And how they hit, they cause a lot of elevation of emotions. It causes people to reflect, kind of think about their inner core, what they think they're really what they believe in, propagating himself as that type of person. But when you look into his past, he doesn't have any children of his own. The one child that he has is, look very satanic. And I would be frightened to have anyone representing the divine feminine who hasn't qualified, especially in birthing children, to speak on behalf of our womb. Okay.
Wow.
So, you know, and then Mr. Trump, you know, the trumpet himself, the Tower of Terror. Oh, see, this is a simulation, y'all. I want to remind you,
Yeah.
this is a simulation. Whenever we're hitting a tinge of some truth, they
Yeah.
will activate the parts of the core of, you know, the animals and things like that to try to throw off the conversation. But let me say, Trump represents the old patriarchy, the part of our society that really represented an old system of values that the United States was upholding at one point. He is going against a new system that is placating itself as feminine, and he is placating himself as masculine. But he is the Trojan horse. He is going to bring on the apocalypse. Sides, and I'd like to say it like this for those who are not kind of think I'm a little quick quackadoodles. If I have a quarter, Rich, right, and I throw the quarter up in his heads, right, okay, and then I throw the quarter up again in his tails, does the value of the quarter change?
No.
It's still 25 cents. When we're playing in duality, you're seeing different sides, but it's still the same coin. Okay, so when you're thinking that you're getting something different, you're just getting the same, just another aspect of it.
Is this something you could do about the reception? You're like freezing. Is there?
Am I glitching? I can go on another device. Is it glitching?
Yeah, it's like real. If we are, this is our avatar.
Yes.
Holographic avatar.
Yes.
I believe you said we are somewhere else in a pod, sleeping somewhere.
We're in a cryo state, sleeping,
Cryo state.
projecting ourselves in this reality. We've chosen our avatars with certain benefits. I don't know if you've ever saw Jumanji with Kevin Hart and The Rock. When they jumped into the video game, they changed into different forms, and they had certain advantages and disadvantages. Like Kevin Hart's advantages, like he was a zoologist, he knew all these things, but his Achilles heel was if he ate a piece of cake, he blew up, right? He lost the life. It's similar to this in this simulation. We chose specific bloodlines to come into to be able to participate. Now, one thing, you have to qualify, just like in a game. You have to qualify to pick certain avatars. To have melanin have a certain, because melanin has a wider bandwidth. Okay, to have, now I'm talking about real people. We're not speaking about NPCs, because people are like, oh, there's melanated people that act. We don't even know that those people are real. Okay, that could be a background person. Those could be people playing cards inside the simulation. But for when I overstand is that we come in and we have to qualify to be able to obtain certain avatars. Just like in a game, you would have to have a certain amount of points. You would have certain amount of credentials to be able to obtain. So in this particular simulation, you had to have qualified to have a melanated and a female body. You would, in order to get that particular avatar, you would have had to qualify, meaning maybe several different lives where you earned a certain consciousness, a conscious awareness. And not saying lunars or white people don't have that, but we brown people who are game players, because there's not many of us. It's not many of us. You know, my concept is that maybe there's a handful of real players in here that are actually real. The others are just background jock people. Sometimes you have walk-ins or drop-ins that come into bodies. They'll come from another realm just to participate and or to review or to look and watch what's going on. But for the most part, there's only a handful of us here, and we pick specific bloodlines. I may have picked maybe a Creole bloodline to have a certain toning frequency when I speak. Maybe I have an advantage in certain areas when I travel. That may have been why I picked this particular bloodline, so that I have certain advantages. You may have picked more of a bloodline that has a connection to the Lyrians. Maybe you have access to certain galactic apparel or things or qualities that you will have advantages in this realm. So, you know, my concept is we're sleeping in a cryo state, you know, under, I actually don't think it's above. I actually think it's underwater. As above, so below. Where water's above and water's below us. And we're living and projecting ourselves in this reality, whether it's to level up, whether it's to, you know, you've been sentenced here. It really depends on the individual and the game that they're playing here. We're in the finale, though.
That is quite interesting. What a way to start the show. Now, this Can
I just say, I am drug free. I do not drink. I do zero drugs. I am not microdosing on mushrooms. I am quite sane. I am a mother. I travel, and I am sane. I have to say that because some people are like, oh, she is high as a kite.
Yeah, I was about to say, where did that come from? But because people gonna assume that because of what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I am very clean and clear. Yes.
Okay. Now you say we're asleep somewhere in a cryo state. Is this a higher self? This is the higher self that we speak of?
Well, remember, we have certain terminology that each one of us uses. You would perceive that to be your higher self, but it's really the real you, the actual you outside of this simulated, outside of this firmament. That's the actual you. Wherever you come from, you have certain residue that kind of bleeds into this reality. Like, let's say you come from a certain star system. You may have these dreams of seeing 3 moons or, several different stars, or you may see purple water. That's because you have a bleed through of the reality of the homeland, the home world you come from. Some people have a connection to the Orishas. In certain worlds, those Orishas exist as real beings. So that's part of the benefits of having some layered upper consciousness where you're able to tap in and hold some of the residue outside the firmament, outside this reality in your original state.
Wow, what a way to start. What a way to start. Let me ask you this, because you talk a lot about NPCs. So I got a couple of questions dealing with the whole idea of NPCs. And for those who don't know, NPCs mean non-playable character. They're like background players in this video game we call life. You say there's only a handful of us that are real. I guess you're saying melanated ones. Let me ask you, what race has the most real people, would you say, versus what race has the most NPCs? We have Asians, Indians, white, black.
Well, I don't perceive races as everybody does.
Okay.
I go with frequencies. Those who have a wider bandwidth with melanin is usually Asianic people and brown people. They're tapping in, and then we're going to get all these interferences. This is part of the simulated world. I'm speaking to too broad an audience. Too many keys are going to be grabbed tonight. And this is the finale, so it's on a poppin'.
We got 1,500 people in here already. They're ready to hear this message.
Come on, let's get it. It's the finale. The best and the baddest are here. So it's a handful of people here. Just like you would enter, a lot of gamers understand this. Like, there's a lot of gamers who play with groups of gamers online. And usually it's like 5 or 6 of them, maybe 10 at the most. And they enter into a game where there's already a stage of beings that exist there, like the NPCs or the Sims are already activated inside of the game, the backdrop people, and there's the forever loopers, the characters, the main characters inside of the video game. It's the same thing. So I personally think there's only a handful of us that are here. Now, when I say qualified people, I'm saying that people who have the highest amount of access to frequencies or vibratory patterns or the sacred geometry within the biosphere, I would qualify as that would be people who are real players inside of the game, actual beings that are coming from outside of another, inside of the cryo state, projecting themselves in here. So Asianic people do qualify, lunar people, but it depends on consciousness. The majority of the players are going to be melanated, whether it's because they have a lot of hair. It's just because you would have to have a wider bandwidth.
Indeed. Something that I used to always say to myself, this got to be a simulation, a personal experience. And I like to use personal experiences and people understand things better. So a lot of times I would be in a store. Let's say I'm in a supermarket and the thing out of everything in the supermarket, the thing that I want is gone. And it keeps happening to me it's like I find a bag of potato chips that I like, right? It's a nice healthy bag and I feel good eating it. All of a sudden it's not there no more. I like a brand of this. All of a sudden it's not there. Everything else is there. But the thing I want just happens to disappear. I said, man, this shit gotta be a setup, man. What the hell? Everything,
you also have a set of rules and regulations that you have within your game. So Rich has his own guidelines, and you may have maxed out on the amount of access to that particular chips. So you may not have the qualifying amount of currency to be able to obtain that in the game. You have to get more of something in order to obtain that.
Oh, you looking at this like a game for real.
Absolutely.
Like you ain't playing. You got to qualify. You got to get the coin. Like it's Mario Brothers.
Absolutely.
You got to get some like Sonic or something.
And also within the Mandela effect, those are updates. So what happens a lot of times, this is how you can tell if you're around an NPC. No shade, but shade. When we're having so-called Mandela effects, where people were noticing this maybe 10 years ago, people were like, what's this? There are changes like Bernstein Bears change to Bernstein Bears, Sex in the City, certain chronological references, whether it's movies or events in the past, were changing in real time, including like even the physical apparatus, like a book would change the name. And you say, how is that possible? That's an update in the computer system. The AI is updated. Now, how you qualify someone sometimes, I personally think all the times, but I'm going to behave myself, is that the people that are NPCs only remember the updates, the Mandela effects. They only know the data that's new. They can't reference the old data because they're part of the simulation. So they only remember what is in the simulation. Only those who know the previous memories would be real players.
Wow. Let me ask you this. All right, because this is good, y'all. This is good. Y'all better share this video. This is good. Let me ask you this. You like I said, I watched your video and I got inspired by the conversation tonight. By the way, everybody, make sure y'all check out we got about 1,700 people. Make sure y'all check out this sister's YouTube. What's your YouTube, Fleur?
Brun, just Fleur Brun. FL, it's like brown flour, FLEUR, Brun, BRUN.
Okay, all right. Yeah, a lot of great videos on there, family. All right. With the NPCs, you talked a lot about the end of this particular simulation, and you talked about the sisters with the celibacy. And when I heard you say it, I was like, damn, I just finished talking to my girl about, I know a lot of sisters keep talking about how they celibate. Yeah. And you also talked about the brothers, act wild, going wild with the passport bros, passport bros.
Going there ruining worlds,
you know what I'm saying? So what I want to talk to you about for the brothers that's out there watching, what's your thoughts about if, say, a brother hooked up and he got with a lady who was an NPC, how does that affect the brother? And he happens to have a soul. How does that affect him energetically in the future? And as far as having children, is that even possible? What's your thoughts on that? Hooking up with an NPC. It
just limits his access to higher vibratory, goals. So if he gets caught up in a loop, because really the NPCs are considered to be lifetime loopers. They just basically are distractions within the realm of the matrix. So if he gets caught up, all it does is limit his ability to get to the next stage of evolution for him to get out of here eventually. That's all it is. It's a distraction. So if he's unable to use his spiritual discernment or any form of discernment, and that's why they keep making the butts bigger, the boobies bigger, the eyelashes, the snuffleupagus eyelashes bigger, because they're really trying, the AI is really testing, or because you've come in here and you've qualified to come in here, it's testing your ability to use self-mastery and self determination. If you're unable to pass that, you're not going to go past go, and you most likely won't be able to have the exit point, be able to finish the game. You'll be back here in the simulation for another cycle, which is probably 250 years to 360.
Let me ask you this. Are all presidents NPCs, and that's why they're able to do the things that they do?
Yeah. And when people say they're time travelers, like people say, well, I've seen Trump in a book with his son Barron, in a book referencing things in the past. You got to be careful because everything is looped upside down. We're going through a pole shift too. So you got to be careful. Is the past, or is that the future? So if you're seeing references of, political figures, they are lifetime loopers. They are characters, the main characters in every single simulation. So when you come back in another simulation, if you haven't advanced and you have to come back into the cylindrical pattern, you're going to see him again, maybe as another character. Maybe he'll be an actor, maybe, but he is a lifetime character within the realm of the simulation.
One thing that people always wonder is how certain people seem to be able to get away with things, and certain people seem to get hit with karma faster. Do you think karma is different for NPCs versus people with souls?
Yeah, there isn't any consequence for things that aren't real. It's not real, like, would you say there's a consequence when you're playing, like, I don't know, one of these video games and this guy's hitting a woman over there? That's a game, it's a character, it's an AI, it's a simulated person. They don't have that. But what it will do is test to see if you will join in, and then points, and then you also points so that you're not able to obtain to the next stage.
go to the next stage.
Ooh, that's like the ultimate test for you, because you
Absolutely.
in your mind you may be like, hey, I could get away with that.
That's
Next
right.
thing you know, you try and your ass get hit with something you ain't know you was gonna get hit with.
Timmy the toy is not you. You know what I mean? He's
Wow.
he's a fabricated character within the realm of the you know, and within the realm of the Matrix.
Wow, this is some interesting. This is an interesting realm we live in. So let me ask you this now.
Yeah.
Being that we're both in you know, spiritual community on the internet, we hear a lot about our ancestors and how they looked at the sun. Some people say they worship the sun. Being that you know this is a simulation and that's a sun simulation, I would like to know, what is your relationship with the sun? Do you command it? Do you worship it? Do you love it? Do you you know, do you just look at it as you're more powerful than it? Do you look at it as it's more powerful than you? What's your relationship with a sun simulation?
I just look at it as another part of the apparatus that I'm existing in, just
Right.
trying to make it through. The sun is a simulation, and it doesn't have what has been generated to us over the years. You know, this worshiping the sun. You know, this it has a soul. You know, whatever you. It's usually characterized with religious. There's a lot of religious characteristics that people hold on to, like old Egyptian kind of character. You know, the sun, the Ra character. You know, the different pharaohs worship the sun. Even in some of the different religions, they have a certain kind of ideology that's connected to the sun. The sun is a simulation, and also because they just did a fake eclipse, which was absolutely a purposeful event. Ever since that, they actually put a film over that sun simulation. That's why the sunflowers are not facing the sun anymore. That's why the actual solar panels are not picking up, and people are paying bills now where they didn't have to pay before, because the sun doesn't exist. People's vitamin D is going down. The sun has disappeared. They put a filter over it during that last fake eclipse.
So hold up, you hold up. You go at you go at lightning speed.
I'm trying to get it in.
I
I'm trying
see
to get it in.
this. I mean, you acting like the world gonna end in 15 minutes because you
Well,
the amount. No, this is excellent. I love it. I don't want you. I'm just messing with you. I'm just letting you know how much I'm loving this. So you're saying the eclipse that happened in April was fake? You're saying
It was orchestrated, and it was done by the lifetime loopers. You know, those jailbirds that like to stay here because the janitor's on the other side, and here they're rock stars. They mess with the simulation all the time because they're trying to make sure that there aren't a lot of people that are able to make it out of here. And when you don't get a lot of sun, you don't feel well, and it makes you more limited, and it makes you be unable to really be at your maximum capacity to be able to make it through the finale.
Who we read a lot of ancient texts. Who would be a lifetime looper where we could say, "Oh, that's what she's talking about"?
Well,
Anybody?
most of your political figures that are, you know, they're ran by these entities. We call them the Jesuits. I call them the Deros. There's other names I won't say online because we're banned from saying their names. Those are the lifetime loopers. Some of them apparently found out how to get by in the loop without transcending. So they've been going through each of the simulated each of the resets. They've been existing here, and they've been trying to thwart it by creating new things, new weather, trying to make it more difficult for the players to actually supersede and make it to the end.
Do you think a lot of the great people went through have a lot, like let's say Michael Jackson, or a lot of famous people, or they went through a lot of childhood trauma? Do you think that's the matrix, the simulation trying to destroy them before they reach the level where they're supposed to be at?
Absolutely. The more trauma you incur, it's the harder for you to supersede the level and make it to the final destination, which is the finish line. You know what I mean? So they're trying to constantly, and it's part of the challenges of being in a game. We wouldn't be in a game if it wasn't challenges. I mean, you have to, you know, when you're a leveled up player, you're able to supersede challenges. You aren't a forever victim. Like, there isn't anybody here. There's no lunar white person telling me what I can do. There's no president. I am a soul being with my own rules and regulations, and I conduct myself in this matrix, in this simulation, with full knowledge and full awareness, so that I'm unable to be, you know, the wool to be pulled over my eyes.
No, indeed, indeed. Wow, wow. Okay, let me ask you this. So there's something else you said in your video. You was talking about. I got it written down here. You said there's limited character space in this game. So by letting some, this is good. You said by letting someone go in your life,
Yeah.
you open up more data to allow more people and people you really need to come into your life.
Absolutely.
So
You
explain.
only have a limited amount of data. And if you
Right.
keep holding on to old characters inside of your database, it's going to limit the amount of access to higher information, higher relationships that can help you get further in the game. And if you hold on, if you release these people, you'll get other characters that can come in that are leveled up with more qualifications to help you go further in your ascension process.
Wow. Now, have you experienced that personally?
All the time.
Because
Like
I
whenever I
yeah.
release people, I get upgraded avatars that are similar to the other people, but they're upgraded.
Wow.
So if you release you ever release someone and then someone else comes in with a similar vibration, like almost similar patterns, but just a better, higher version of them. You know what I mean? It
Wow.
happens all the time. Pay attention, you'll start to see it.
Wow. Y'all hear that? Everybody, do y'all hear that? Let them efforts go. And the people you really need will come into your life, family.
Absolutely. You have to release them from that placement because you only have so many character placements inside of your database. If you keep holding on to people too long, it's going to limit the amount of information that you have access to. It'll limit the amount of experiences necessary to upgrade you. So you have to release things. Everything has an expiration date, and you have to know it, act upon it, and keep it moving.
Mhm. You know, a lot of people in the time that we're living in, a lot of people are dealing with mental health. A lot of people are going to therapists and doctors and so on and so forth. A lot of people are resorting to drugs to deal with mental health issues they may have. And a lot of it stems from childhood trauma. I want to ask you, being that this is a simulation, do you think knowing that this is a simulation can help someone deal with the trauma? Like, man, that shit wasn't real to begin with. Do you think that's a big help somebody could use if they are dealing with something that they not getting over from that happened when they were young?
Also, yes, and also seeing the trauma as a opening, as a elevator, as a catalyst
Hmm.
to raising awareness of something that you needed to begin to see.
Hmm.
Sometimes we're traumatized, and it's like a mirror to some aspect of ourselves that we're unwilling to acknowledge.
Hmm.
So, if you see it an challenge as an opportunity as opposed to something negative, you'll notice, like, what is this bringing about? What is this making me aware of? When this happened to me, what became of me? What did I start to do differently because of this particular trauma, this particular assault on me?
Hmm.
There isn't any victims in this piece. Everyone is chosen particular frame of their game, how
Hmm.
it's going to elevate them, what things they need to incur, things that they have to overcome. So there aren't any victims here.
Hmm.
And who's a wonderful person who kind of speaks to this all the time is Jewel Brookman.
Hmm. Hmm.
Dr. Jewel Brookman speaks of that. We are the masters of this realm.
Hmm.
Everything that we engage with is literally something to mirror something so we can help ourselves.
Hmm. Indeed. Yeah, shout out to Dr. Drew Pukram. She was at the Gathering of Masters, did a absolutely magnificent job. I got to call her. I'm glad you just reminded me of her. So let me ask you. So the game gives us, kind of gives us, it reminds us of who we are constantly. So
Absolutely.
we're in a video game, we're in a simulation, literally. Let's the most famous video game probably that ever came out in the world. They got stores, movies, everything. It's Super Mario. Super Mario. So if we talking about video games and Super Mario wanted the mushrooms.
Yeah, he
So
did.
was the simulation trying to? I'm not a mushroom guy.
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
tried it before,
Are
but
you microdosing? Yeah.
no, I'm not either. I'm more. If anything, I'm a drinker. I'll drink
Yeah, yeah,
here and
yeah,
there,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not even like a weed guy. But
yeah.
was the simulation trying to tell us something hardcore with the most famous video game and him always needing mushrooms
Well,
to
mushrooms
get
is
to get?
another dimension. It's like a portal. So it brings you into another dimension to maybe access certain things over there. The mushroom has always been used, or a kind of like, I almost feel like the mushroom is because it has little white spots on it, which are like little portals. You know what I mean? I
Right.
think in itself, it's a representation of the access to different densities and different dimensions, which you needn't take anything for. You just have to elevate yourself and be able to qualify to enter into different densities. And I always give suggestions of people really becoming more self-aware in their dream state, so that they can access these different portals and access these different densities, that you can get information without the AI all in your business.
Mhm. Let me ask you personally, have you ever in your dream state like interface with the aspect of yourself that is asleep in the cryo state that you talk about? Have
Yeah.
you,
Yes.
and what was that like? And
I've woken up from the actual bed, the cryo bed.
yeah, there you
Around,
go.
yeah. And during this one time, I'm not going to make it long because it's not a long story, but it was the first time I ever woke up from the simulation, and I woke up in a cryo bed. And when I woke up, I actually saw, I didn't have clothing, and I saw like a little piece of gel on a dresser in front of me. And I
Mm,
just took the gel, put it on my body, and it created a suit on my entire body. Um, and in this realm, there were people there working in systems. There was a data on the walls, kind of like holographically on the walls, I guess, talking about what would have been my life vitals on the wall. And I kind of stayed up, and I also witnessed another sea star that was up there. She was also naked, and she had a penis. So it made me understand that maybe in this realm, them constantly putting that or mentioning that all the time, it could be because there's these type of beings that exist over there, and it could be bleeding into this kind of reality where that's kind of generated all the time. But I did wake up out of the cryo state, so we are there. I'm 1000%. I'm in a cryo state.
damn.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Wow. Damn. Oh,
I'm sorry. Rick.
I ain't never gonna be the same after this
That's sorry, Rick.
conversation.
Yeah.
No, this is necessary right here. So has this happened? Have you gone to this place more than once, or has this
Well,
only happened?
Well, I noticed that there was another time that I woke up, but I didn't wake up with the knowledge of being in cryo state. I woke up on a
Right.
ship, and I noticed a couple of the sea stars were there. But I noticed one pertinent thing is that the people there they were like Asianic brown people. So
Mm,
now I understand why natives, indigenous people have this kind of phenotype of like Asianic brown people, because only on that ship did I see that kind of phenotype. Either they were Asianic, maybe more fair skin, but they were all Asianic and all brown.
mm, mm. So earlier, you talked about the characters in the game, and I guess having enough points to choose a certain avatar, and you talked about the black woman. I guess the black woman, that's like the most advanced avatar in this
It's
round.
it's the hardest to qualify for if
Mm,
she's a real player,
mhm,
because she's going to be attacked the most, and she's
mhm,
the one who's qualified to exit because she's accrued enough points,
mm,
enough qualifications to take on that avatar. But just like in the Pac-Man game, in the Pac-Man game, you
mhm,
start, you get a cherry, you get a whole
mhm,
bunch of cherries, you're happy. The
mhm.
intermediate part, like when you're in the middle, the ghosts start chasing you and they start killing you. And
Right,
then
right.
the last part, you can't get a cherry. The ghosts are everywhere, and you basically running all over the place. That's what I qualify melanated women. They're the most sought after, the most violated, and the least protected. And it means that they're qualified. It's actually a testimony of the qualifications they've accrued over the past incarnations.
Mhm, mhm. In your incarnations, do you think you've always incarnated as a black woman? Do
No,
you have no?
no,
Mm.
you would have to qualify for that.
So certain incarnations, you would say you were
Right? Other forms of, European. I've been Native in other lifetimes, from what I understand. Uh, Others where I was Asian. Yeah.
right, 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 right. Hmm. So in terms of what kind of information we hear, we hear a lot about the divine feminine energy. When you talk to these entities, these spirits, what do they tell you about the black man in this realm? Maybe his purpose or where he comes from, or just maybe something that I'm just seeing if you say something that I haven't
Yeah.
heard somebody else say.
The black man he's one with the woman. He just doesn't know it yet. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a separation. I think it's a separation here, but
Yeah.
there isn't a separation there. I think the
Uh,
brown man and the melanated woman are one. I don't think they're different. I think they're one and the same, and I think that's why they struggle. It's kind of like we're supposed to merge right now, and there's a lot of social media, a lot of propaganda to prevent the merging of these two together to become one. You know, when when a melanated man is at his heightened state of consciousness, and he merges with a melanated woman at his heightened state of consciousness, they accrue passes so that they can go straight to go. They don't have to go through all these different layers of challenges. But that's the challenge, is that this social network is purposefully causing rifts between the two. This is another part of the game. You got to use your nuggets. You know, you got to realize that that's part of that is part of your learning, your lesson, to overcome others outside of you delegating what you should and should not do, and causing rifts with those who are genetically your other half.
Oh, very interesting. What's your thoughts? You know, the name of the show is Avatar Bloodlines, and a lot of people, and especially in ancient culture, they wanted to keep their bloodline strong.
Yes.
What I want to ask you about is, what are your thoughts on arranged marriages? To some people would say, all right, well, she's a lawyer and we're doctors over here, and we're gonna keep this bloodline strong, and we want to birth a certain entity here. And some people just follow their heart, like, yo, I love her. She's not, she may be a stripper, but I'm just my heart is it my heart loves her. What do you think? The concept of arranged marriages versus just following your heart, do you think one is better for a soul person?
Remember, I'm not a separatist. I think both are right. Yeah. I think you should delegate. You should stay within a certain social system of type of avatar, so that you can have the most masterful children. Chaotic mating is why we have a lot of violence, a lot of mental illness. I'm into blood types. I'm not going to speak about it here because that's not appropriate here. But type O, type AB. I was in genealogy for so long. We shouldn't be mating with people that are alchemically dangerous for us. That's why they don't tell babies what their blood type is anymore, because they want people to mate chaotically. In order for you to choose a proper mate, you have to have acknowledgement of where you come from, what you are, in order to make purposeful choices. Like, I'm a little thicker, I'm a thickums, right? I would choose a partner who has a similar background to me, so I wouldn't have any alchemical issues, but I want him to be taller and leaner, so my children would come more balanced and more balanced in the realm of how I would want them to look physiologically. I think a lot of times people choose just from base level attraction, and that's a trap. You know what I mean? That's why there's trap music. That's why there's a lot of social engineering to make people only stay in their root. That's why there's a lot of plastic surgeries making women look a certain way. That is actually all artificial intelligence. It's transhumanism at its best. That's all meant to trap people. I think you can have love, and I think you can actually choose partners that are right socially and economically for you. I don't think there's a difference between the two.
I love talking to people who, have these interactions, these dreams, these lucid dreams, or they interact with certain deities or whatever. I always want to ask them, how is the music? I'm a big music person. How is the music in the other realms compared to the music that we get down here?
Well, if you are able to obtain lucidity, you can enter into the there's different layers, like an onion. There's different layers of the etheric realms.
Right.
And once you get to certain realms where the color has a frequency and a sound, then you start getting into these very like sacred geometrical sounds that make you see shapes when you hear the music. Rather than just hearing it, you actually get a visual of colors, and you actually get these shapes in front of you. They actually level you up. So the music on the other side, it depends on which realm or what density you get at. But usually people who have access to that are certain blood types or certain indigenous people who have access to realms where they're able to access these portals of geometrical sound, shape, frequency. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. The Avatar Bloodlines, is this something, because we have people that they watch this channel, they watch your channel, they want to tap into a certain level of information, in a sense, a certain level of consciousness. Do you have to be born with this, or do you think somebody who may not have the abilities you or I may have, can they learn it over time? Or do you think this is something you got to be born with?
Absolutely. Just like a dancer, I could be an innate dancer and catch the beat and be able to dance, naturally. But there's a lot of dancers that are trained that are able to pick up the beat and hear it. And then eventually they're able to fall within the beat patterns. I think absolutely you can be trained. You can actually level up. You can do this through fasting. I'm a fan of fasting. Fasting actually clears out the body and gives you more clarity. You can hear better, see better, and actually you get to see geometrical shapes that help to level you up. Seeing visuals, actually, that's how, and again, I gotta give credit to Jewel Brookman, talking about the hemispheric, merging the hemispheres of the brain. There are people who exist who don't have the separation in their brain. When you see their brain, they actually have just a full brain. The people who have the division, that's a hybrid programming where they've kind of perpetuated this through time to encourage people to mate who don't have the full hemispheric brain intact. People who have full brain intact are able to hear sound with their eyes. Okay, so color can create sound, shapes can create sound. So that's why I say when you get to certain layers and densities, that's why I say clearing your body, just getting clarity, cleanness, clean air, leave the country like I do, go somewhere where there aren't chemtrails, go somewhere where there's clean air and water, and don't eat. Clear the body, detox the body, and then all of a sudden sound, symbols, all these different access, because when you jump into different countries, it's like a different dome, and there's different characters within those domes. So when you dream, like when I went to Chile, my dreamscape changed. So now I have access to different beings that are existing inside of that dome. So now you have access to another playlist of characters within your simulation. That's why I always encourage people, jump out of your dome. Each of these have we have mini domes within the overdome. So when you travel, you have access. That's why people travel. It expands your consciousness because you have access to different types of energy, frequency, and beings.
Yeah. I've heard that since I was young, and it's definitely, when I finally experienced it, I was like, wow, when you travel, your mind just opens up so much. So yeah, definitely. This something in resting power to Brother Panic. Something I used to talk to. I asked Panic before, and I want to ask you about. My spirit is telling me to ask you this question. People that you may in this realm, avatars that you may encounter that you got a big problem with, like you may just not get along. It could be your mama. Like, let's say you and your mama are at odds and y'all don't get along. It could be your brother. It could be of your neighbor. You just don't get along with this person. Does that mean that y'all have another problem in another realm and it bled into this realm? Or y'all may be the best friends, but y'all just had to play a game down here? So it was like, I'm gonna be good cop, you're gonna be the bad guy, just for the purposes of experiencing this space time.
From what I understand, it's a mirror to who you were in a previous life. If you have an enemy that acts a certain way, something that you need to be confronted with, so you see and you are able to perceive someone acting in that way in order for you to note it, understand what that is, and for you to maybe qualify it, that maybe that's something about you and your inner core that hasn't come to the surface. Usually people who have beef with someone else, is something inside of them that they recognize in the other person that that's unvetted, they haven't acknowledged yet. That's my understanding. It's a mirror. There's no such thing as enemies. Everybody here is coming in with full, like, how the coach gives you a play. Everybody knows what the play is. You're going to be the quarterback. You're going to be the running back. You know what I'm saying? Take the ball, catch it from the end. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to dance at the end. You have the plays. Okay. So there isn't anybody coming in here truly as your enemy. They're basically, the person who plays your enemy is usually the person who's the biggest catalyst to rise you up to the higher tier.
What do you think about having children in this realm and it being an avatar realm and it being a projection? The relationship with your children in another realm, in the spirit realm, or sometime the spirit you talk to, are those your future children? Talk to me about how does that process work when you decide to have a child in this realm?
Children are interesting because they play a part in fractions of who we are, like parts of us, like pieces of us that fracture over to the side. Now, if you ever watch, and I know that Panic spoke about this too, The Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy was on, in Kansas, she had her uncles and Auntie M and the nasty neighbor that kidnapped Toto, she was belligerent. And then when she went over to Oz, these characters showed up. You had the Tin Man, you had, you know, the Scarecrow, you had the wonderful Cowardly Lion, you had the witch, you know, trying to cause problems and wreck, and then you had Glinda the Good Witch. Though basically people who show up in children show up as characters in this simulation that are probably fractals of people we knew on the other side, outside of this realm. So we kind of birth beings that are connected to us outside of this firmament. This is what I think.
Yeah. Do you think, you know, since we're talking about bloodlines, do you think that and we talked about the black woman being one of the most advanced avatar, do you think that, what do you think about the idea of, in our culture, the child taking the father's last name versus taking the mother's last name? Does that change the outcome, the energetic?
It balances out because the child gets the mother's mitochondria, which is more of the genealogy. So I think it's fair.
Okay.
And the child takes on more of the mother's genealogy. So the father imprints himself with his name, his lineage on the child's name. I think it's fair.
Indeed. No, definitely. Indeed. I want to, we're about to hit the hour mark, and we got about 2,700 people in here.
Oh,
So,
snap.
yeah, we got about 2,700 people. So I want to get some questions from the family before we get out of here. So family, give me some questions in the chat. We popping in here. We deep in here tonight. Very, very interesting conversation. I'm glad I hit you up and called you yesterday.
Thank you.
Because this conversation is definitely.
I asked if you were ready. I was like, "You ready?" Because it's the finale. I was like,
Yeah.
and we got out of the safe room. I'll talk about that later. We got out of the safe room. We were collecting yesterday for the last couple of week or two. Anybody who's been experiencing like tiredness, like you feel like you needed to level up with your energy. We've been in the safe room. This is a part of the game where you start getting upping your ammunition, upping all your health, getting yourself collected in your mind, because this is the part of the game we have to get ourselves together because we're in the finale. And today was the first day we got out of the safe room. So it's on a pop-in.
What, 9/11? Is that?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So we out of the safe room. Wow. So that was like,
you're not excited. You don't look.
No, yeah. No, I'm thinking about, because I'm while you're talking, I'm thinking about something you said, because you was like, you're tired because when the body's upgrading, you was talking about things. It gets tired because there's so many things going on within the body.
Chemically, like a baby. Babies
right.
a lot when they're changing, when they're growing. So it's the same thing. When you're in a safe room, you are leveling up, getting your strength up, because this mother freak is about to go ham in about 3 months.
Around election time.
Oh, it's gonna be on and pop, and this is the best finale ever.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm ready. The best and the baddest are here. I'm here to play.
So the all-stars are in the room at this time.
No, it's
everybody say that. Yeah.
Your powers, you just upgraded. You're gonna probably grow like wings. I don't know what's gonna happen to you. Something's gonna happen. You're gonna turn into a lion. You know what I mean? Everything.
Wow. I'm
excited.
Oh yeah. Let's get to some questions from the family. Somebody said, well, I guess all right, let me ask. They say, so if this is a video game, what is the role of the shaman?
Well, the shaman is kind of like, if you look at the Matrix, remember the what was she? She was the remember she was a psychic, the brown woman with all the children that had all the gifts. The shaman plays as a guide, helping people to make it to the next level, to allow them to see themselves, work through some of the trauma-based programming that they've experienced and incurred here. They're basically guides. Just like in a video game, you see there's certain people that when you're walking in a video game, there's like a guide to say, hey, go down this road. Are you okay? Do you need a drink? Do you need something? Okay, that's a guide. A shaman plays as like the woman inside of the Matrix, as the one who was helping the children who had all these special gifts, and basically playing as like a glorified babysitter. You know what I mean? Baking cookies. So I see the shaman as a guide, a spiritual guide.
Sorry, I had it on mute, family. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Somebody wants to know what happens when we beat the game.
You exit and you wake up out of the simulation, out of your cryo state. You actually wake up where you come from.
Just like that, huh?
Yes.
So beating the game will be different for different people because we all have different purposes then.
We have different purposes, and there's not many people here in the game. A lot of people here are simulated beings. Yeah.
You keep saying that. So what percentage? If there's,
I don't think there's a lot, Rich. You know, I told you. I just like when you play a video game with your homies. How many go in the game? It's only like 5 or 6
Yeah,
at
yeah.
a time. I don't think there's a lot of us in here, and I can tell by how qualifying people's consciousness are. Like, there's certain things that qualify you to say that you might be someone who isn't a real being. Like, you haven't obtained a certain kind of awareness that would make me think that you're real.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Very
you
interesting.
shouldn't be on base level, you know, up leveling now at the finale. Like, you would already be at this awareness. You would be on Rich's channel, but no one is on and popping and ready.
Right, right. Indeed. Okay, okay. Somebody says, Brun, can you do remote viewing and can you access the Akashic records to see the outcome of an event or circumstance?
Well, we're living in a multiverse, so there's multiple events happening simultaneously. Time is an illusion. Yes, I've done remote viewing, and I got a little spooked after I did the Kanye West one. So I kind of refrained from doing it because I had encountered a being that saw me, and it kind of freaked me out. So I don't really do it anymore because I'm not advanced enough, and I didn't realize that people who are walking around can see people in the etheric state in their full form. So I don't mess with it. You can't access someone else's Akashic records. You can only access your own. And the Akashic records is something that you access through your genealogy, your DNA. The Akashic is inside of your DNA. Your cellular memory is inside of you. There isn't anybody. If anybody tells you they can access your Akashic records, I would call BS on it. You can access it if you're qualified and if you have the actual the actual like the amount of points you need to be able to get information. You can't get information all the time because you wouldn't want to play the game. You get information as you go on in the game as necessary.
Right, right, right. Okay. Let's get to another. Let's do some super chats questions. On a spiritual level, if my blood type changed from O to A, what does that mean? Can I change it back? Have I downgraded for a particular reason?
Well, you're judging yourself. I wouldn't perceive you as downgrading from O to A. I don't know anyone who that's happened unless you had a transfusion. Spiritually, we have certain kinetic energy attached to different blood types. But as far as changing blood types from O to A, that would be alchemically impossible unless you had a transfusion, and then that could actually change your blood type. Sometimes that happens, but I don't see you. It does have a different energetic field. A's are very, very connected to nature. Animals love them. And if you felt like you changed to an A, it just means you're connected more to nature. Nature loves you. A's have such a wonderful connection to animals, plants, birds, insects. Everything loves A's. And O's are basically like the leaders. They're brave, they regenerate, and they're here to last.
Interesting. Hey, LeBron, do you have a Cash App for the people if they want to support you? Do you have one?
Oh, yeah, I do. I do. I don't know. Yeah, I
Do you
guess.
know it or?
I
No,
can.
because sometimes I ask the speakers their Cash App and the people they show love. That's why.
Yeah, maybe next time. I don't.
Okay.
I
All right. It's all good. I just want to.
Yeah. Thank you, though. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no, the people on my channel, you know, we show love over here. So
Oh, I appreciate it. I could probably find it. It's Fleur Brun, but I would have to get it.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Even if you want to give it to me and I'll put it in the description of the video, you know, we could do that. And then the family they could.
Thank you.
All right. Let's shout out to New Diamonds. New Diamond says, if this is the finale, what do you think will happen next?
Oh, well, I know that we're going through. Remember, my concept is we're going through a pole shift, a world war, and also another. I don't want to say the word because we're on Rich's channel. I want to be respectful. There's another coming. So that being said, you got to keep your health up. It's important for you to do that because it looks like they're going to put everything in the goulash at one time. They're going to try to confuse you. They're going to try to lock everybody up, lock everybody down. I see within the next couple of weeks that most likely will go into martial law because with this election, there's a lot of shenanigans going on, a lot of demonization of certain bloodlines purposefully. They're demonizing the Haitian bloodline and the Venezuelan bloodline. And I was talking to a C-star today, and I was saying the strongest bloodlines they're demonizing. They're characterizing them as savages, and this is a very beautiful bloodline who has a lot of magic inside of them. So it makes me think that they're doing it so that you perceive them as enemies, so that you aren't able to ever access certain information that they would be able to give you.
What bloodline is this that has a lot
This
of
is the Haitian bloodline, which they're saying that
Trump said that
yeah,
they were
cats and dogs.
eating cats and yeah.
Anybody from Haiti, ça passe. Anybody from Haiti, that's untrue. Haitians have dogs and animals. There's a lot of rituals that do happen within voodoo, but it does not, to characterize a people. Why aren't you saying the Chinese people eat cats and dogs, which is very documented? Why are you saying that? There's more Chinese people that came over the border, Chinois, than any other group. So why would you designate that? It's because they want to characterize certain blood types for certain bloodlines. Like you said, there's certain bloodlines who have certain information and certain keys that they're supposed to give you. But if you demonize them, you make them seem ooky spooky, no one's going to come in and come around those people.
Very interesting, family. Let's get to this next question. This is an interesting one. Is there a guardian like a dragon guarding a certain level of knowledge?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are different types of energetic beings, deities, animals that represent and guard certain layers and densities. The dragon is one of the most ancient. Some of you have a connection to the dragons, just like the lion beings. They, like the lions, guard the gates. They're the guardians of the gates. So you can't jump through the stargates because the Lyrians are guarding them. But same with dragons. Dragons guard really important, pertinent information. They guard a lot of ancient relics. So if you feel connected to it, it's probably because you have a connection to the dragon, or you may have an imprint of that dragon on you, because there are people who are mixed with the dragon beings. Outside of this firmament, not everybody looks like a humanoid. Others look like cats, people look like reptoids, and some people even look like dragons.
What did you look like when you seen yourself in a cryo state? What did you look like?
I look more like, and this is why I say what's interesting. I come here in this avatar really buxom, kind of thick, but there I could look really fit, almost militant. I look the same, but just more like a militant, more Asiatic looking with melanation, but more fit, like just like a soldier, like someone who's more of a soldier. Yeah. So it makes sense why I would choose this avatar, to make myself feel more, feminine, or more, that's why I say some people pick avatars of deficiencies that they feel over there. It's not deficiencies. They want to play with an avatar that's different, or something they always wanted to be.
So there's something that's going on now where our avatar goes on the computer, goes on an AI app, and the AI app creates an avatar of our avatar. And it's like this majestic, royal looking app.
Wow.
Do you think that avatar is more representative of who we look like? And
yeah, the AI knows who